Now, the PSE Index briefly sinks below the 6,000 mark, a level not seen in months as foreign funds exit. The peso slides and political noise weighs on confidence. The main gauge manages to bounce back, but the big question is whether this recovery can hold. To help us make sense of what this means for investors, for companies, and for deal flow, we're joined by Ed Francisco, the president of BDO Capital, one of the country's biggest and most influential investment houses. He has a front row view of how corporates and investors are adjusting behind the scenes. Hi, Ed. Thanks for being here with us this Thursday morning.
Morning, Mikey.
Okay, Ed, the index briefly fell below 6,000 before bouncing back. From your daily conversations with business leaders and investors, how would you describe the state of our equities market right now?
Well, it's moribund. We're trying to do stuff, but it's really very challenging.
Yeah, we slipped below 6,000. Year to date, we're down 7.8% year to date. At these levels, it doesn't feel like a true representation of the Philippine economy. GDP growing at least 5%. That's the outlook for 2025. IMF sees GDP at 5.4% in 2025, inflation at 1.6%. Is the equities market a true reflection of the economy at this junction? What would you think? What do you think?
No, I agree with you. It's not a true reflection. The PSE right now is more sentiment-driven, very negative because of what's happening from the political front. But supporting what you said also, the real economy is growing in excess of 5%. Because loan growth continues to grow. We're seeing above average loan growth at around 11-12%, and that's for the whole industry. And there's a direct correlation between loan growth and the economy, and it's consistent. So while the PSE is down, real growth is still happening, which is great.
Yeah, the banking industry is doing well. Loan growth, that has a multiplier effect. That's up 12% year to date. So that's a better indication of where we are economically. So talking about this sentiment, you've got a unique vantage point, leading one of the country's top investment houses, engaging with investors and daily business leaders. What do you deduce about sentiment today?
Yeah, so the foreign investors, of course, are very gun shy, and it's seen by them exiting the stock market. But remember, that's only one side. That's more, I guess in a way, they're more short-term. Some of them are more short-term. They want to make the quicker buck. So that's hot money. The nice thing about it, we're still seeing a lot of deals in the M&A front, the private equity side. Foreign investors are still there, so which shows that they're willing to come in and they're longer-term players. So there are two sides of the coin. But yes, some of the foreign players are out, and that's caused the exodus in the stock market. But there's still some things happening.
Yeah, we're a small market. There's a lot of negative news, a lot of negative overhang. A lot of it is also local. Of the downside risks right now and on the horizon, what are the ones the investing community, from your point of view, is most concerned with, Ed?
Downside risk is really more on the political front, because our corporates are doing well. So even if the index is going down, the corporates are delivering. So it's sad because that means their price to equity or their valuations are going down despite they delivering. So it shows you it's beyond what we can do. The corporates and the chairpersons, the CFOs I'm dealing with, the CEOs, they're all scratching their head. They want to do buybacks, they want to support the stock. But if foreign investors sell or the sentiment is weak, then they're really at the mercy of the stock market.
Yeah, speaking of being at the mercy of the stock market, a lot of top companies are doing share buybacks.
Yes.
From boardroom conversations you're a part of, are these genuine signals of confidence, or are they defensive moves in a weak market?
It's both. Because the market is weak, they're showing how much they believe in their stock by willing to buying back more shares, which is great. The only problem there is some of these companies are already reaching the limits or float requirements, and they're unable to execute more. But for me, it's still a positive sign. It's not always positive in that sense that it brings the price up, but at least it keeps the price from going down further, and it shows that the major shareholders are really behind the stock.
I mean, with these concerns, you talked to a lot of people behind the scenes. Are there concerns, and is there talk of possible delisting given this environment? Because it's big effort to be a publicly listed company, and we saw it with MVP and Metro Pacific. They decided to just kind of delist. Is there talk of that now, given the state of the market and how it's been over the past decade?
Okay. Again, I can say I'm on both sides. On one side, BDO Capital, and BDO Sec handle a lot of these delistings. Most of the delistings we advise, especially on the security side. But on the other hand, if we can dissuade the CFOs and the owners from doing that, we'd love to, from the market perspective. But yeah, sometimes these companies feel that they're not really properly valued. They'd rather delist. I'm hopeful that in the case of MVP, while they've delisted MPIC, when they list the tollways, and then they're listing Maynilad, they'll also create value and give an upside to investors. So that's the positive side there. But yes, many are considering delisting here, and even considering maybe listing abroad. But if we can, we want them to stay here because our market is already small, so we don't want it to shrink further, Mikey.
Yeah, it's small and we don't want it to shrink further. But you know what? Maynilad's IPO is coming up. This is the second IPO for the year. Could be the last. We don't know. A top water concessionaire. In today's market, what are your thoughts on this IPO?
Yeah. No, I'm very hopeful for Maynilad. We believe in the stock, and I think it will be a very good yield. It's a utility anyway, so it will have constant dividends, and parang nakakatawa, Tagalog, it's umaagos nga yung tubig, so it will just continue, dividends will continue to go to investors, it will continue to grow. So while it might be the last IPO for the year, at least it's very good because it's large, but it shows that there's still interest. Yeah.
Right, and it's a utility firm. It's a good hedge. So good yield, price appreciation. There's talk of the price at 15 pesos per share. What are your thoughts on this?
If they price at 15, I think that's a very good price. We ourselves, our customers are lining up for that. And it's a good investment to have because at least you invested it, put it aside, just count your dividends, but you can keep it for years because it'll be part of the index eventually anyway, and hopefully even for abroad, they'll buy into that. So I think it's a good investment.
Yeah. Interestingly, Maynilad was the first to get the SEC's green equity label, yet despite this ESG credential, it still had to cut its IPO price ceiling to 15 pesos per share. What does this tell you about what this label really means and how it could move the needle for investors?
Yeah. No, having the green label is always very good. I've done deals where even for green bonds we raise, it attracts a different kind of investors. It will allow you to tap foreign markets in the case of Maynilad, but even from the local side, there are investors who want green labels. And it's not just for greenwashing, but they really respect that. We've done a couple of deals for Ayala, also Ayala linked sustainability bonds and the BDO sustainability bonds, for example. It's great from the issuer. There's growing demand for that. And in the case of Maynilad, it's a testament for them because the deal is so large, right, by standards. And so when it's pulled off, it's hats off to them, to MVP, to Marubeni, to Sid Consuni, the shareholders.
Yeah, you said it attracts a different kind of investor. Maynilad is attracting cornerstone investors,
yes.
The IFC, possibly the ADB, both with green mandates. Is this a sign that long-term institutional funds are willing to back IPOs even when local demand is soft?
Yes, so thank you for bringing that up. It shows you that despite the PSE being down, but if there are still good companies in the Philippines and local and foreign are going to invest. We can't disclose it yet, but I understand there'll be even other cornerstones joining. There might be even from our side joining. So it shows you that they're
And that's
long-term
exciting.
investors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Despite the
is-
market negative news,
Yeah.
I think this will do very
Yeah.
well.
And Ed, from a capital market perspective, how difficult is it to price deals when demand, as it has been very soft?
Oh, it's really very challenging, and that's why our pipeline is getting longer. We have some deals that we wanted
just
to do
waiting.
last year. Yeah, we
Yeah,
pushed
they're
back
just
to this
waiting.
year, and then we push back again to next year. So it's very challenging because we have good companies. I was with SEC Chair Francis Lim yesterday and Mon Munzon, President Mon Munzon, and we were just talking about the challenges. Great companies, great stories, great future, but because the prices are too low, some of these sponsors says, I don't want to give it away naman for free. I think I'm doing a disservice, so they postpone. But there will still be deals. It's just a question now, maybe
It's just
rechannel it, do
Timing.
something else.
Timing. If Maynilad pulls off a successful IPO in this environment, what does that signal for the broader IPO pipeline and for capital raising in the Philippines in general?
Yeah. So it shows you that at least while the equity markets are very challenging, it shows you that we have the full breadth. Because for an example, with Maynila, with Mon Fernandez, the president, who's done an excellent job, they have access to, we help them raise green bonds, peso bonds. They have access to foreign equity and local equity. They have continuing access to their bank loans. So it shows you that the whole gamut is there. As long as you have a good company, a good governance, then the markets won't close. One form or another, there'll be financing because we don't want to curtail the growth.
One form or another, there will be financing. That's right. But globally, when you step back, looking at the bigger picture, globally, deal activity has shifted away from IPOs. How much of that are you seeing? Well, in the Philippines, we've only had, this is only going to be the second. So, what's keeping the market alive right now?
Right. In the Philippines, fortunately, we're very bank-centric. So our loan growth is doing very well as an industry, and BDO's growth also is exceeding industry growth. We're seeing it in all cylinders, including consumer, even housing loans, auto loans, credit card loans. When I talk to my colleagues, it's really very strong. It's a good sign. So, and they're using it also for investment. It's not just because they need to borrow more. And household debt is still not too high, which is good. So it's showing that there's growth happening in the country. I remember we have the economy, the underground economy, so they're using it also to finance those things. Financial inclusion is improving. More unbanked are being banked.
Yeah.
So I think it's still good overall for the Filipinos and the consumers.
Well, like BDO, people will find ways, right?
Yes.
Okay, in weaker equity markets, as ours has been, how big has the pivot been to M&A?
Very big. Fortunately, we're involved in a lot of them. So, for example, if the equity markets are closed, but when San Miguel, the Aboitiz Group, and MVP Group Engine decided to work together for this LNG project. So we'll hopefully finance them. When part of the M&A, when they tried to sell the CBK power plant, we're also hoping to finance the winner of that. The other hydro projects, the pump storage hydro projects of EKR, Ricky Razon, we're hoping to finance that. So and then a lot of the companies, they're talking to themselves, at least if they cannot tap the market, we'll help finance them, but then they'll acquire each other or do new alliances together. At least in a way, they're frenemies. They're competing at the same time, they're working together, which is good. At least it's an alliance and it should be good for the consumers also.
Okay, and even in a down market, you've got visibility across all sectors. What's looking attractive right now for investors and for issuers?
Okay, so the equity markets are tough from the common share IPO perspective, but we still have a lot of pipeline for the preferred shares because that's where there's a good marriage between investor and issuer demand, supply and demand. Because it's quasi-fixed income with dividend yields. So we're doing a couple of more perpetual shares for Petron, for San Miguel, for other entities. Even for Ayala, when we did it, it was very well received. So investors like that. So it's equity-like with a almost like a regular coupon. People like that. And then yesterday I was discussing with President Juan Munzon also. Maybe we should push more for IPOs of preferred shares, which are allowed by the PSE. Nobody has tried it, but it's actually there. So if a company doesn't want to dilute themselves, but they have good cash flows, let's IPO you with preferred shares, and then that's allowed by the PSE.
Okay, interesting. What are the other reforms on the docket that would help really move the needle? I know there's interest in smaller float requirements. Is that something that you're in favor of?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it was Singapore and Hong Kong already have started that. So their precedents. We're talking to Francis and his people, Commissioner Bryan, Commissioner Quevedo, Roger Quevedo, trying to see if they'd be open to that, because what's happening in other jurisdictions, they're reducing the float requirement because of the market.
Yeah.
But it's allowing now these companies at least to retain their listing rather than forced to delist. It allows them to buy back more shares without triggering the float.
And it's going to be graduated.
It will be graduated. The bigger the company, the better. So this is good not just for existing companies, but even for IPOs. For example, if we're able to convince GCash to eventually list, although I think they said that they're not in a hurry, they have access to capital. But a smaller float requirement will be great, because then you don't have to flood it, because it's so big. It's hard to sell, right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's something to look forward to, a reform to look forward to get more people to want to list.
Yes.
Ed, I also wanted to ask you, last question. We're in the fourth quarter of the year, looking at 2026. What's your outlook for the market, for the economy, especially with a shutdown in the United States? A lot of that's going to depend on the duration and the severity of that, but what's the interplay, and what does it mean for us?
Yeah. No, for the Philippines, of course, it's very hard. No, we're fortunate in the sense that we've always been a consumption-driven economy, right? So our GDP will all continue to grow, whether it be 5.5%. We're steady. We're a 4x4. My complaint, though, or my only concern before was when others already going up to 200 kilometers per hour, still at 60 to 80. It's like our trains, right? We don't have super fast trains. But then when the roads are bumpy, we will still continue to grow, right? So that's the trade-off. So I'm still hopeful for the Philippines. I guess if all this floodgate, all this ICC or the one headed by Andy Reyes, by Babe Singson, and by Rosana Fajardo, I hope they're able to do something about that, because if the government shows that their people, there's accountability, that will improve the sentiment from the foreign side. Because the companies here are doing their job. But then when we go out to the market, a lot are questioning the governance of the country.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will be, something will happen, and then that will mean more investors will come in.
What's that catalyst that needs to happen, Ed? What do we need to see to show that the government is serious?
I think they have to show that, accountability. There has to be. But at least we're seeing signs of that. The fact that it was in the sauna and things are happening are great. So we just want it to continue. If it proceeds and it's that there's no whitewashing, then the market will improve, our valuations will improve, and it's good for the country.
Yeah, accountability, we hear you. That's what we're all batting for. Yes. Thank you so much, Ed Francisco, the president of BDO Capital, for this very enlightening segment. Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
We're taking